Hi there everyone, today we are concentrating on Ex-Cyclone Oswald, still spinning up here along the Queensland coast, right around Cairns is where the low pressure area is right now, but just bringing all sorts of heavy rain showers up and down the coastline, all the way from far northern Queensland, all the way down there, even around Townsville, and then eventually in the Rockhampton, and maybe into Brisbane by the weekend. You're going to be seeing the risk of some heavy and flooding rains. Before we get started though, I do want to take a second to thank Cyclonechasers for letting me participate into their live webcast they had earlier on today. Definitely a lot of information was passed around there. This cast is just some newer information, and we're just going to try to condense it. That one was about an hour and a half long. I'm trying to make this right around 6-7 minutes. So sit back, enjoy. This is their Facebook page though, if you want to go ahead and like it. Also, don't forget to stop by Western Pacific Weather and like our Facebook page as well. Now, right now, this area is packing winds right around 30 to 35 knots. So right about 60 to 65 km/h winds sustained have been reported coming ashore here all along the coastline, pushing down there towards the south. But really, the main threat continues to be the heavy rainfall. Actually, let's pull up the radar imagery courtesy of weatherzone.com.au, and you can see here all the way just north of Mackay, just south of Townsville. That's where the strongest bands are now as of this update, but all of that banding is continuing to push ever so slowly towards the south, all following around that center of low pressure area, which is the remnants of Cyclone Oswald, just sitting there towards the west of Cairns right now. You can see some of those bands moving towards the east right here, the other ones moving towards the west. Well, what is happening is we have that clockwise rotation, remember, that low pressure area right here. It's pushing that wind out there towards the east, picking up the moisture from the coral sea, and you can see some of these feeder bands pushing on shore, and that is the problem. As long as this continues to linger, it is going to continue to pick up moisture out of the coral sea, which is exceptionally warm at this time, and the higher and the warmer those sea surface temperatures are, that means the more heat for fuel for this to continue to push on shore. So there is that very heavy risk of the heavy rains there, but also we're seeing the continued threat of these gusty winds. I actually saw some reports coming out of Cairns, just in some of the outer areas there, people reporting that the winds have been continuing to blow on shore here and even offshore, and one person saying they had a very large vehicle and the vehicle having a hard time driving. And I guess on that note, I would highly recommend anybody that is in these areas, if you don't have to travel, just try to stay indoors. Main reason is not so much of the sustained winds as I'm showing you here on this model outlook, but also these embedded thunderstorms, which could be carrying winds upwards of 100 km/h at times, and those really are the dangerous ones. But also, as I'm showing you here, we do have these sustained winds, and also the reason why I'm showing you this is so we can take a gauge at where that center of circulation is, and right now just there towards the southwest of Cairns. But then as we look into Thursday, it starts to slowly drift farther and farther down there towards the south, and we can see the highest winds just offshore pushing onshore. Remember that moisture is also going to be following these winds, and right in these areas, that's where you're going to continue to see these feeder bands. So going into Thursday, Mackay, you're really going to start to get under the gun here as it continues to pull off here towards the south. Not so much near that center of circulation. So I've seen a lot of people asking, where is the center of circulation opposed to me? Well, remember, the center of circulation, it is going to have the gusty winds, you are going to have the rainfall, but really it's this area just towards the south. I guess you would actually call it the right front quadrant, more or less, but it's not a full-fledged cyclone and not affecting you by any means the way a cyclone would. But then as we look down into Friday, continuing to linger here, and by the time the center is over, you can see the winds actually start to taper off here by Friday evening. But then see those onshore winds coming across there into Rockhampton and Gladstone, and if we pull up the precipitation outlook, that's where the heavy rain starts to shift to, and even as far south as the Sunshine Coast. Let's take a look into Saturday. This is the Euro model, very high resolution, so I usually have a good trust in this one. But as we look into Saturday, those winds continuing to shift onshore, that system continuing to push farther and farther towards the south. And over the weekend, like I said, Brisbane, you very well could start to get in the mix. But this, once you get into Saturday and Sunday, remember I'm making this overnight Wednesday and Thursday, it very well could shift the track. Generally, I do expect this to continue to track farther and farther here towards the south, eventually down there towards the Sunshine Coast. But it very well could linger about 100 nautical miles or 100 kilometers one way and 100 kilometers the other way. But eventually it is going to reach this area and start to work slowly off towards the east. Main reason is because an upper level trough coming in from the the westerlies well south there, even south of Sydney in south of New South Wales, is going to have some effects on this. Start to whip it off the coast there. But when we take a look at the precipitation outlook at the same time on Sunday evening, even the Gold Coast and Brisbane, you start to get some heavy rain showers in here. And actually at that same time frame though, on to Sunday evening, we have our area rate in here, not really showing much in the upper levels, but what you can see is some of those higher winds, and then we have that troughing coming in, and that, depending on whenever that arrives, remember this is on Sunday going to Monday, so still some time, that is really what's going to have an effect on our area. So if this trough takes a little bit longer, you might not see it take off until about Monday and the Tuesday. If it does speed up, it'll be about Sunday and the Monday. So time frame, about a 24 to 48 hour gap there, but up until this weekend, all along the Queensland coast, you're still going to be seeing these rain showers gradually tapering off towards the north, but getting worse towards the south. And right now, though, once again, if you don't need to travel, I would not suggest it. Also, I noticed a lot of the trains have been canceled across the area, so if you plan on taking a train, it ain't happening. And then also, even as far south as Townsville, Rockhampton, you're going to be seeing the possibility of some airport delays. Cairns gradually improving, but until Thursday afternoon, if you have any flights, I would actually be somewhat worried. But as conditions improve, those delays and cancellations will definitely be unlikely, obviously. But that is all for right now, everybody. First, I want to show you a high-resolution visible imagery from earlier on today, just showing on what we are contending with here with our low-pressure area. We have Australia down here, the Gulf of Carpentaria right here, and just look at this massive cloud cover, that moisture continuing to be drawn in from the east, and the moisture being drawn in from the west, the low-pressure area right in there, and that is what is bringing us the flooding rains. But also, let's look a little bit farther towards the west. Can't forget our ex-cyclone Peta now, continuing to move down there towards the southwest along Western Australia. Now a ex-cyclone, but still bringing some gusty winds here. And if two areas weren't fun enough, we also have our other cyclone out there towards the Cook Islands, continuing to spin up, pushing off there towards the east. I'm not touching in on these two, mainly because they're not affecting too much of the viewer base here. But if you want more information and you are one of those people that are interested, check out 28 Storms and Ozcyclonechasers. They both have some in-depth information on both of these storms. Oh, and one more thing, while we're talking about our cyclone here, let's look back off towards the north where I live into Japan, where completely different story, and it looks so bright and sunny down there towards Australia, but here in Japan, very dark and gloomy, all these areas in the whites. That is showing you some of this heavy snowfall being picked up by the visible satellite. That's how heavy it is here across northern Japan, and unfortunately it looks like more snow is on tap. But I'm going skiing this weekend, so good news there. Hope everybody stays safe out there. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's one thing I don't say enough, so please do that. And